All right, on this episode of Bouts Talking Bouts, happy to be talking to an individual who's got a big fight coming up, which goes on October 25th, Bellator 231. We've got Mandel Nallo going at it with Achilles Mota, and that is a very fun lightweight bout for my money. And I've got Mandel on the show to talk a little bit about all that. So, how's your day going so far there, Mandel?
Day's going well. Thank you very much. How's yours?
Oh, my day's going great, man, for sure. But I'm kind of wondering what the, I guess, preparatory stages are like for this fight here. I understand, training at a TriStar and everything like that. Is it kind of like the usual suspects, like Roy McDonald, for us is a hobby, Eamon's a hobby, like a lot of those guys? Like, who else are you putting in that work with?
Yeah, it's business as usual at the gym. The wheels are always turning here. The names you mentioned are always in the gym working. We have great guys like Arnold Allen as well. George is always training week over week. Andrew Sanchez, who just had a fight last week. Eric Spice, is always in the gym. Louis Sanidakis, who's a guy who doesn't get a lot of hype, but he fights for Brave. And CS, and he's monster. So, the gym's packed full of great guys. Kevin Lee's been in the gym for his training camp. So, it's a good fun.
Yeah, for sure. You got some great guys you're training with and everything like that. And I mean, Rory has a big fight ahead, like later in the month too. So, I mean, as much as MMA is an individual sport, is there any kind of like, I guess, like collective energy, galvanizing of skills as like a few people in the gym are headed towards like big respective fights in their own right?
Yeah, there's a definite mood shift in the gym when something big is bubbling up, and me and Roy are fighting back to back. So I fight Friday, and he's going to fight Saturday.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to kind of line things up like that, where everybody is more or less excited for something big for the gym. Because a night like this can be very big for a gym.
Yeah, for sure, man. And your opponent coming up here, two-fight LFA veteran. He's getting ready to come in and make his Bellator debut. What are your thoughts on your opponent's skill set? Are you one of those guys who, like, you'll watch a fair bit of tape on your opponent and then kind of go off that? Or do you kind of let your team do that and you focus on your individual efforts? Like, what are your thoughts on sort of your opponent and preparing for them?
I think it's important to do both. You get insight from your teammates and coaches, but you also, you don't want to go in there blind. You want to know what the guy's tendencies are, but you can't go all in on that expectation, because a guy can change a lot in a series of months. So, I watch a bit of tape, but then I also think you see a lot of guys get caught up in the trap of augmenting their game to perfectly counter their opponents, but really they're not being true to their own style. So I think if you remain true to who you are as a fighter, you're going to win more fights than if you try to, change up and counter every single guy you run into. So yeah, I try to do a little bit of both.
Yeah, and what I find interesting about you, because initially, like, I was kind of just seeing like the Tapology record and everything, and it seems like you've kind of fought like once a year for Bellator, like maintaining that kind of schedule. But I've seen interviews where you espouse the virtues of, practicing and like really figuring things out in a comprehensive way there. Do you think that's something like, maybe more fighters can learn from, like maybe more stringent training as opposed to like trying to learn on the job, so to say? Or is it more of it just works for you and you happen to just go with that?
Uh, I'm of the opinion that even if you fight a ton every year, you're still doing, a huge percentage of your career in the gym. So the more you improve and enjoy training, that's really going to pay off in the long run. That's my opinion, and it works for me. Some guys, they need a lot more competition, and financially, obviously, training doesn't pay anything. So there's also a bit of a line to tread there. But I just think, I love to train, and there's so much technique to learn in a sport like MMA that you can't just call yourself good and fight. There's so many improvements to make, and everybody's getting better. It's so fast that if you're not training all the time, then you're just going to fall behind.
Yeah, okay, I get where you're saying on that end and everything like that for sure. But I mean, you got a pretty cool bit of album art on your Instagram page, or at least it kind of looks like album art, like something that would be like the cover of like an indie band's sort of like record cover there. So like, when did you first get into doing that? Because I've seen some cool stuff there on the old Rat Garbage Instagram. I understand it started with seeing a dead rat in Tokyo there, but like it's kind of turned into something pretty interesting. So how is that as like a creative outlet for you? I find it interesting because it seems like you're kind of hesitant to call it art necessarily. I'm kind of just curious your thoughts and feelings on all the stuff like the Rat Garbage stuff.
Yeah, it's something that I don't really fully understand. It's something I like doing, and the reason I'm apprehensive about calling it art is because I train so hard to do MMA, and when somebody I meet or somebody I hear talked about and they call themselves a fighter, and I know they're like they don't really put in the work, it kind of irks me. So I feel like a real artist would look at what I do and be like, man, that guy's not really an artist. That's the only reason like I have any kind of qualms about calling it art. But realistically, fighting takes up a lot of my life, and you see a lot of people in general who just they'll watch Netflix in their free time, or they'll just do whatever. They'll play video games. I just felt like keeping a creative outlet to try to keep that part of my brain sharp is important to me, and this was what I found to work out. So it's just a bit of fun, and if people like it, that's
Yeah, I know it seems fun, like a little bit of like collage art. Like you get some like pictures out when you're kind of doing your day to day stuff, and then kind of tinker around with it a bit. I think it's a fun creative outlet. And I thought it was funny how you kind of described it too, where it's like if you just see guys like punching each other in the head all day, it's gonna turn you into like a bit of a doofus kind of thing.
yeah, maybe a more a kinder way of saying that is just you don't want to be a one-dimensional person. So I'm trying to like diversify my interest a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. But I mentioned in there that the whole art thing started with kind of being in Tokyo and seeing the dead rat out on the streets and stuff like that. And like we also talked about how often you compete and stuff like that. But I'm curious, like, would there be any desire to like get on like that Bellator versus Ryzen card? Is that like a super quick turnaround that you couldn't like feasibly do? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, honestly, if my body is healthy and I like the matchup, and Brad likes the matchup, I'm happy to fight more than once a year. We tried this year, believe me. Things just didn't work out. But no, totally. I would love to travel. That's part of the fun of this sport is if you travel and experience the world and compete against the best in the world. So that's something I would definitely be interested in.
Yeah, for sure. I more so meant, I guess, like competing in Japan. I know there's been some factors getting in the way of you trying to fight, like certain bouts getting canceled, just sort of stuff that's out of your control.
Yeah, no, totally. Japan, the one time I was there, I tell everybody, it's the one place I've been that I definitely want to go back to very badly. So yeah, that would be very cool.
Yeah, and you've been in the sport for a decent period of time. Like you've been at it for, like a number of years, even dating back to like your amateur run and stuff like that. Like you've been at it for like over a decade since that Matt Page fight there and everything like that. And I mean, with like some recent knockouts getting on like Sports Center and stuff like that, it's kind of like an overnight success kind of vibe. And I've seen in some interviews you like kind of maintaining some level of, being mysterious, being an enigma kind of thing. Have you found it hard to maintain that air of mystery now that there's like so many eyes on you and there's the like more of a spotlight on you now, I suppose?
No, not really. Just because like I'm not. I don't really embrace it. I think that if somebody was to really embrace it, that viral moment of my last fight, or something like that, and like do a bunch of radio interviews and try to get on local television, then it would be harder. But I like hanging out with my family. I like watching video games on Twitch, and I like taking pictures of dead rats. That's so I think that because I'm not running towards it, it's pretty easy to stay away from.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. You've been holding it down with like watching the League of Legends and stuff like that. I get what you're saying.
Oh yeah, big world is happening as we speak.
Yeah, my brother's a big fan of like the gaming sphere and stuff like that, and I think it's really cool to see stuff like that. But it also seems like you're a bit of a Tim and Eric fan, if I understand that correctly. I think I saw you retweet Tim Heidecker at some point. Are you a bit of a Tim and Eric awesome show kind of guy?
Definitely more so when I was younger, but I'm just a big fan of comedy in general. So any place where I can get a good laugh, I'm all for it.
And I also noticed, like, to the point of like the Twitter and stuff like that, I also noticed you tweeted out, I dressed up as a stupid idiot for this Halloween since I'm usually a smart, cool guy. Are you going to break out that costume again this year, or what are you thinking you're going to do this Halloween coming up?
I feel like that should be big. Dressing up. Well, I have a new baby, so I'm gonna try to incorporate him into whatever me and my wife decide to dress up as. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's gonna be a good time, no doubt. But I mentioned earlier that some of your art kind of looks like it'd be like an album cover type of thing. But I also noticed that you were shouting out Melodrama a little while ago, that King for a Night project. I'm wondering like what kind of music you're training to in the gym on a regular basis. Are you bumping stuff like that more so, or like what's your go-to genre and stuff like that?
Oh, I keep it pretty diverse. So lately, let's see. I think there's a guy called Kieran J. Callanan from Australia. He's like a rock musician. He put out a really great album. Danny Brown just put out a great album.
Oh yeah.
I've been listening to that a lot. So I think it's pretty diverse. Alex Cameron just put out a great album. He's another Australian artist. I'm all over the music blogs and any place I can find new, interesting music that isn't just something that's playing on the radio. Not playing on anybody that listens to radio music. Just anything that's a little bit deeper than that, I'm all for it. So yeah, and any genre.
So you're on like Brooklyn Vegan, like Pitchfork, Stereo Gum, maybe like websites like that?
Yeah, I'm on all the classic hits.
No, I love that, man. That's cool. But you've been really great with your time. I'm curious if there's anything you'd like to add as a parting thought as we're wrapping up here, though.
I'll just say, obviously, watch if you can on Friday. I would appreciate that, and try to be mindful in life. Don't waste your time. Time is a great resource. Use it as well as you can. That's it.
It's a great parting thought for sure, and people should be allocating some of their time for October 25th, checking out Bellator 231 in this big fight. We got Mandel Nallo taking on Achilles Mota. Very fun lightweight fight there, and just, fun interview, and appreciate all the time, man. Thanks for that, and best of luck with the rest of your preparations. Hope you have a great rest of your day as well.
You too, man. Thanks for the interview. I appreciate it.